Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brent Venables, the Oklahoma Sooners, were undoubtedly going to try to make this Oklahoma team better in the transfer portal over the next couple of weeks. They're already getting a little busy. Want to talk about a few targets and a few players that I think would be really good fits for this Oklahoma program to go after in the transfer portal. We said this last week. I don't think Oklahoma is going to be a team that is extremely aggressive in this spring portal window. One, because I think this roster is already in a really good spot. But number two, I think Oklahoma is really happy young talent that they have on this team. If you read the spring practice notes, it sounds like a lot of young bucks are playing some really good football. And people who use the transfer portal a lot normally don't have a lot of confidence in the young depth of their team. So I don't think you see Oklahoma go overboard in the transfer portal. That being said, Brent Venables, the Oklahoma Sooners, if there's an opportunity to get this team better heading into 2024, we all know they are going to take that. I want to talk about a few names that have emerging for the Oklahoma Sooners. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. A massive shout out to the Oklahoma fans. Y'all know I love talking this program. The amount of support y'all continue to show to the fellas truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And want to start with, a target that I think Oklahoma is in a great spot for, and that's Jermaine Lea coming over from Louisville. Now, first thing I want to talk about is that he's visiting Oklahoma this Saturday for the spring game. That's a massive sign. Second thing off the rip, 6'2", he's up to 310 pounds. That's what he was listed on the roster for Louisville in 2023. He certainly looks to be 310 pounds. Now, Jermaine Lea, why does Oklahoma potentially want to kick the tires on this kid? I think it starts with, when healthy, Jermaine Lea, whether it was at Arizona State, whether it was at Louisville, has been a very good football player during his collegiate career. The big narrative is hasn't always been able to stay on the field, right? Couple season-ending injuries. But again, when healthy, when 100%, this was one of the more coveted defensive linemen when he was transferring from Arizona State to Louisville. I think the second thing that really, interests Oklahoma about Jermaine Lea is you look at the Oklahoma defensive line and say, I feel really good about the defensive line. We said that. We've kind of said that all spring. On the inside of that defensive line, if there's one kind of skill set that maybe you want to add to, that's the pass rush on the inside, right? Dejon Terry, hand up, I'm one of the biggest fans of Dejon Terry. I thought he played phenomenal football for Oklahoma in 2023. Not the best pass rusher, which is okay. He has a certain role that he plays at a high level for Oklahoma, but only a 4% pass rush win rate last year. What's different about Jermaine Lea, he's a penetrator. He's a pass rusher from the inside, and I think Oklahoma might want to add a little bit more pass rush juice on the inside of that defensive line. Jermaine Lea, a guy that's racked up over 12 and a half sacks, 25 tackles for a loss during his career, a 9.5% pass rush win rate from the inside. Very impressive numbers. I think Jermaine Lea, probably a different kind of player than someone like Dejon Terry, but a guy that gives you some big-time juice on the inside. And at the end of the day, if Brent Venables has an opportunity to get better along the line of scrimmage, he is going to take that opportunity every single time. Jermaine Lea, a healthy Jermaine Lea, certainly adds to this Oklahoma defensive line. Second guy I want to talk about real quick is Philip Bane, a player that is getting a ton of love in the transfer portal. LSU, Auburn, Oklahoma, kind of similar story with Philip Bane. And that is, this is a guy that has a ton of pass rush juice. 6'3", 295 pounds. Again, a 9% pass rush win rate in the Big Ten. I would guess right now, from kind of reading the tea leaves, that I think Oklahoma's in a better spot to land Jermaine Lea than Philip Bane. But these are the two guys that it seems like Oklahoma is kicking the tires on as of right now. I'm a big fan of both. I think they both add a skill set that Oklahoma is looking for in terms of a little bit more of a penetrator, a little bit more of a pass rusher. And again, I think would be two additions that you go into the SEC. Not only do you want to have star talent on your defensive line, you want to have depth. And I think both of these players would further provide really good depth for Oklahoma on the inside. And now I want to take us to a conversation really quick about where else should Oklahoma be going in the portal. And I look at the defensive side of the football. I think is loaded. I think this is the healthiest roster Brent Venables has had in Norman since he's been there. You look on the offensive side of the football, you kind of take a checklist here and say, Jackson Arnold at quarterback, you feel really good about that. Running back room, you feel good about. Wide receiver room, I think you feel good about, even though you've had some injuries during spring camp. Offensive line. For the Oklahoma fans that have been listening to the boys for the last couple months, if there is one thing that's holding me back from really jumping on this Oklahoma bandwagon and riding Jackson Arnold to the promised land, it's the offensive line. I look at Oklahoma going into the SEC with a young quarterback and say, if Jackson Arnold has a good offensive line in front of him, he's surrounded by a ton of talent. I'm really confident in Jackson Arnold, but I don't think it's a great recipe where I have a lot of questions about the offensive line for Oklahoma heading into 2024. I want to break it down real quick, then talk about a few prospects or candidates that I think Oklahoma could be going after. I want to focus on the tackle position. Right, Jacob Sexton, I've been kind of very vocal that I think he has a lot of upside, probably the most upside on this Oklahoma offensive line, or at that tackle position at the least. You bring in Michael Tarquin, who had a inconsistent, to put it nicely, time at USC, was really good at Florida. Can you get back to Florida, Michael Tarquin? Then I'm feeling a little bit better about this offensive line. And then you look at a guy like Spencer Brown, who comes over from Michigan State, and say, I think you made some good additions in Michael Tarquin and Spencer Brown, guys that have played football at the Power 5 level, at the tackle spot. It's hard to find tackles with starting experience at the Power 5 level in the transfer portal. I think Oklahoma found 2 of them. That being said, do I think Oklahoma has a top 25 offensive line or tackle position heading into 2024? No. Do I think it's even top 50? I don't really know. I think you have a lot of question marks. Again, Spencer Brown, Michael Tarquin, Jacob Sexton, those aren't 3 tackles that you look at and say, those are rock solid guys. And so maybe they're balling out in spring practice. And I think you can kind of get a feel. Now I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but if Oklahoma decides not to address the offensive line during this spring portal window, I think if you're an Oklahoma fan, you take that as, all right, Spencer Brown, Michael Tarquin, Jacob Sexton, apparently guys like Heath Owen are kind of stepping up. You say, all right, maybe Oklahoma, Bill B, Brent Venables feel pretty good about where this Oklahoma offensive line is going to be. That being said, if Oklahoma does, in fact, want to add some bodies to the offensive line, really the only position that I personally have some question marks about, we might find out some answers during the spring game this Saturday. 2 guys I want to quickly shout out. One, Marcus Bryant from SMU. NFL upside here, right? 6'8", 318 pounds. I actually went back yesterday night and watched him against Oklahoma. Played really good. There's a reason a lot of Power 5 teams want Marcus Bryant. I think he checks a lot of boxes. Washington seems to be the leader in the clubhouse for Marcus Bryant. But if Oklahoma does in fact have question marks about the upside that they have at tackle, Marcus Bryant, I think, comes in and immediately elevates the ceiling, the upside of this offensive tackle room. Now, the second offensive tackle in a very similar kind of conversation is Andrew Chambley coming over from Arkansas, where 4-star prospect coming out, a guy that from a physical trait standpoint checks every single box that you want. 6'6", 305 plus pounds, 35-inch arms, played and has that starting experience coming from the SEC. But more importantly, he's only going into his redshirt sophomore year. This is a guy that not only played some solid football for Arkansas in 2023, but I think has a lot of room to grow as a player. And he's a guy that you could bring in, elevate that depth and talent pool you have on the offensive line, but also be a guy that in 2025, 2026 could still be within this program and being a contributor. Those are the 2 names at offensive tackle that I've seen right now. I don't foresee the offensive tackle position being an extremely deep, loaded position that's available in the transfer portal. That being said, that's probably the other position that I'd be taking a look at if I am Oklahoma. We'll see how it plays out. Of course, we'll keep you guys updated as it plays out over the next couple of weeks. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.